Right. It's 7:07. That's Central Time, and we've got a demonstration tonight. We also have a gallery coming up after the demonstration. But I have to check off some things we have here tonight. And let me see. I did the tips, and right now Lan Brady is going to be with us. He's going to demonstrate some spoons. This was set up by Dane, our demonstration master. And look, we talk about that sometimes about who does what, does what. There's an opening. There's an opening right now. The pay is really good, and auditions are that fast. If you'd like to help, let us know. But for right now, let's head to Lan Brady. Lan, are you with us? There he
I'm
is.
here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I
Yes,
hear
sir.
you, sir.
Yay. Well, I've had to make a few last minute changes. It's storming here, so you'll see me looking away from the camera because I've had to move my computer screen inside, and it did change my demo a little. We're going to make a scoop instead of a spoon.
Okay.
Spoon required me to use my bandsaw, which I can't get to because the garage door's closed. So I don't guess anybody else has a small shop like this, right?
Oh, I think a lot
But
of us
anyhow,
do.
the stuff I make is mostly treenware. And if you're not familiar with that, it just simply means from the tree, which every one of us do that, whether we admit it or not. And one of the things that's required for making utility kitchen type things is you've got to work with the grain of the wood. You need to, well, if I can show you a picture of what I'm talking about. Hold on. Well, what I do is I start with the log like everybody else does. And you can see there I've got a froe and a mallet. And the first thing I do is I have to split it, the wood, right along the pith, which gives me 4/4. And you can see this one wasn't centered, so we're going to have different size pieces when you go to splitting it. And then when I get through, I have a 4-inch blank, a 3-inch blank, a 2-inch blank, and then those two that are pie-shaped, I can still get a couple of 2.5-inch pieces that will have both heartwood and sapwood. And if you look at the ground, I'm left over with 3 pieces of firewood. So everything goes to good use. So here's the tools I'll be using tonight. I'll start with the rough and gouge, and then my wide spindle gouge, a badan, a scraper, a parting tool, and then the red handled one is just a rounded scraper, and then a detail gouge. So anyhow, I went ahead and roughed the blank a little bit just so you wouldn't have to see me roughing everything down. And what we're going to start with, this end right here is going to be the ball of the scoop. And then of course this will be the handle. So I'll be making noise now, so I probably can't hear anything. But what I did is whatever diameter the wood is, I made that the length also. So it looks sort of square if you look at it 2-dimensional. I just took a pencil and guessed at what center was. I don't do a lot of measuring. I just guess at it. And then we come back and we want to start rounding it. So what I'm going to do is just take off corners. And I'm going to take off that right there first. It just helps you round it off. Now we've got 8 sides, so I'm going to take the corners off again. And you can tell it's starting to look round. It's not perfectly round, but we're getting there. So now we're going to start thinking round. Got to give myself a little relief. Start back here and just do the same thing. This is where you get a lot of practice using your body to make something round. And then connecting the handle, we're coming in this way. Okay, you can fiddle a long time trying to make it perfectly round. I do a little scraping at the top, trying to bring that part back. And of course, it's not completely round. So I stand back, and where does it need something? And obviously at the point. That's looking better. It's still not perfectly round, but it's getting better looking. Okay. Not bad. And this is where you would stop and sand. We would sand everything from right here to right here and sort of put whatever base finish you want on it to start with. Since this will be used, I don't want any sort of finish that's on the surface. I'll use an oil or a wax. My preferred is a paraffin wax, simply because I have a free source for paraffin wax and just mix it with mineral oil and it makes it into a paste. I do add a little bit of diatomaceous earth, which is an abrasive, and what that does is it just adds a sheen to it without being a shine. And don't worry about you eat diatomaceous earth all the time, whether you realize it or not, because it's in your toothpaste. That's that abrasive stuff that's in there. And you also, if you've taken something like milk of magnesia, that's the chalky taste that you get out of it. So like it or not, you've had it. So it's perfectly safe. But anyhow, next we have to do is we have to make a move, because we're looking at it and we're deciding, what do we want left on this ball? And I think there's some green streaks in here. This is a piece of cherry, by the way. This part's very plain. I'm going to do that. I'm going to say this is the part that I am going to hollow out at some point to make the scoop. So now we're looking at it, and one thing I'm going to do is make a move on the live center side. And what I'm going to do is move the item down about 3/8 of an inch. So now we're creating something that is off center, off axis, off center. So you can see very much the wobble I created. Let's see, what's the best shot? That one I think is going to be our best shot. I go back to my spindle roughing gouge, because I'm going to remove a lot of stock. And you have to do it very lightly at first, because this being off axis, you're just hitting wood ever so often. The roughing gouge that I use is the one developed by Rudy Solnick. I'm sure most of you are familiar with his candlesticks. This is the tool he used to make them. You can see we're getting back to where we're mostly into wood. A lot of shavings in the mouth. Now I'm into wood all the way to right there. You can see that removes a lot of wood really quickly without causing any damage. I'm getting to the point where my spindle roughing gouge may not be the best tool to use, so I'm going to go back to my spindle gouge. And it is a wider spindle gouge. It's about 1 inch. So it lets me do a little more detail work and create my handle that I'm trying to achieve. I've gone back up here. Let me see. To where you can see the wobble, and I'm having to blend in the ball body into being a handle. And you can hear the sound when I'm not cutting air wood, and hit solid wood. A very nice sound. And we are doing spindles between centers, so you're obviously going to get some vibration. You want to smooth it out, and if you're very good at using a skew, this will be a great time to use it. You can do decorative work here or leave it completely flat and round, because we're making a scoop that has multiple possibilities of use. Okay, I'm going to make one final cut that connects this ball to the handle. So I'm a little bit lighter with it, and you can see I'm getting shavings off of it, so it's making a good smooth cut. But when I get flat, it's still making shavings, but needless to say, it's a little rougher. Okay, now at the very end of it, that's known as the thistle. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to blend that back in. That you're not supposed to do, but we can recover from it. Okay, we got it blended somewhat back in, and okay. Again, you can use your skew right here and do fine detail and get that this slick and smooth as you would like. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do it, but for you to sand, you'd be sanding from right here to right here. And you can put your finish on it also.
Switch cameras, sir, please, sir.
Okay.
Here, right here.
Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Nope, I've had to move everything around, so I'm way off on what I'm seeing. So please bear with me.
You're doing great. You're doing great, Lan.
Okay, you can see this is the part we're going to hollow, and you will notice on here that it looks a little offset in this area right here, and that's what we were going for. We have to create a little bit of meat, because if you know, since we're using split wood, the grain runs straight into here, and if you just had a ball with the stick part of it, the handle, running straight into it, that would be the weakest part possible. So what we've done is created a little decorative detail, and it lets us add a little bit of strength to it. Okay, now we're going to go back to the original center. And since we used the pointed cupped center, it lines back up really nice. You can see the ball is back to being centered, but the handle is now what is off. So we're going to finish this off and part it off. I'm going to just remove some of the waste out here. Just trying to give myself room to be able to cut into it. And I don't want it to look ugly, so I am going to do a little bit of decorative work as well. So I'm going to switch to my spindle detail gouge, and it lets me bring these pieces together on the very end. It's very obvious I'm cutting a lot of air, so I need to give myself some more room. Okay, I've run out of room, so I got to go back, give myself a little bit more. And even though I'm using the overhand grip, I do not have a death grip on this. I basically have my hand just resting on it. I'm doing all the drive and with my left hand. Of course, I am left-handed, so those of you that are right-handed, you'd be doing it right-handed. And again, you're making a cut from the air to wood and then finally solid wood, and you're trying to blend all that together. I don't want to cut all the way through because I haven't finished up the other side of the ball yet. I want to give myself enough room so that when it breaks off, it don't tear out my handle also. So I'm going to do a little bit of work there. And away from the body, I'm trying to create a place that I can come back and just snap it off, and I won't be into the body. Now we're going to do the same thing at the headstock end, and don't do that. Don't get in a hurry, which is what I'm doing.
You got plenty of time.
And was there a question?
No, I was just saying you have plenty of time, Lan.
Okay, thank you. You can see the ball. I don't know if you can see it in the shadows. It's pretty close back to center, but with the flex in the wood, it's not perfectly round. That's why you wanted all that completed before right now. So you can see if I can get a little bit more room so I can work at parting this off. I'm going to slow the lathe down. I was turning about 1100 RPMs on that. Some people turn much faster, and I'm going to try to part it off here. There it goes. Well, it's still held, but it is parted. Okay, that parted off, and you would want to sand this tip and get it done. I'm not going to waste time showing that. And you remember on the tailstock end, I told you I left this room so I could just snap it off. And the same is true here. You come back and sand this to where you've created a detail on that end, just like you did up at the neck. And it sort of duplicates it. So it's pretty cool to see and creates a little bit of decorative look to it, to something that really is entirely functional. Now, we got to find some way to hollow this thing out. So let's get rid of our live center or drive center. And we're going to go to a chuck. And this is a odd way of doing things, it seems. I've taken a chuck, and then I've taken the pin jaws off of the coal jaws, if you've seen those, for reversing bowls and things, and dismounted 4 of them directly onto the chuck. I guess you could put that under tips and tricks, Eddie. That would work also.
Hey, we'll use what we
this
get,
is a
man. That
Tommy
looks
bar
good.
chuck. Okay, we're going to mount this in there. And you can already see what's going to happen. We've created a helicopter. But you can see there's our X that we're going to hollow from. I don't know if you can see it, but you can now. And I'm going to tighten this up good and snug. These jaws have rubber grips on them, and they protrude out on this particular set about 1.5 inches. So you can do up to a 3-inch ball, and it wouldn't present any problem at all. And just wiggle it around. I mean, don't over tighten it. You don't want to break anything, but you also want it to stay in there. So we've got it, and it's very obvious you've got to move some things. So let's back away our tailstock, take out the live center so that we're not putting it into the elbow. We're going to move our tool rest, which now obviously becomes our defense, so that we don't stick a hand into that swirling propeller. Okay, we need to know how deep to drill. So I'm going to start with just my drill and my super expensive depth gauge. It works great. I found out exactly how deep I needed to drill. And we're just going to hand drill this, and we're going to slow way down. And once again, we're going to double check to make sure we're not hitting anything. And we're going to stay 100% on this side of the tool rest. Now, I'm using the brad point bits. And if you just put the center bit into it, what's close to center, it will pretty well self-center itself and gives you the ability then to drill. And it feeds fairly easy. You still have to clear. And it's going to, and about 3 times, it looks like I'm going to be able to clear it all out. All right, that looks good. So we've got our depth hole set up. Now I'm going to use the scraper on this. And this is just a standard scraper, flat top scraper. And of course, you have to raise the tool rest because you want the handle pointed down as you're scraping. And we want to scrape somewhere close to center. We know we're going to scrape down to about this point right here to make it a cup. And I'm going to start it. I'm going to look at it, and looks like I'm going to start hollowing about 650 or so and see how that does. And I try to make all my cuts towards the headstock and towards center. What that does is it doesn't create any sideways pressure against these little grippers. Yeah, this does take time, but don't get in a hurry, because what you'll do is throw one out of there if you do. I've tried multiple things like the hunter tools and the different scrapers and cutters and things, and most of them seem to need to pull from the inside out. They do a fantastic job, but we may not have enough grip to use them all the time. So just the plain scraper does a really good job. And I've never tried a negative rake scraper. I'm sure it would work just fine. Now listen, I'm getting to a point where that first cut sounds a little bit different. You can see, let me make sure you can see. That's a little hard to tell from this angle. Let's see if that one will be any better. Yeah. I'm now out here with the rim. And so you can see that thickness on the handle that I left is now coming into play. We're going to remove just a little bit of that because I want this cup to be more open than what it is right now. So this gives me the opportunity. I'm going to rotate my tool rest a little bit so that I'm getting closer with the scraper. And of course, you want to double check, make sure you're not hitting anything. So we still seem to be in really good shape. And I'm going to make a few cuts. It's going to remove some of this also. You can hear the sound difference. I'm trying to just lightly go towards center, even out in the handle part, because I definitely want it to be more open than it is right now. But let's stop and take a look, make sure I've not removed too much handle, and we've still got plenty of handle left. Let's see. Okay, we've removed some more. Let's go back to that. And you can see we're almost at the top of our gripper. So that's probably as far as we're going to go rather than cut into that, because that would not be a good thing. So we've determined that that's our diameter of the opening. So now we're going to go back to just removing stock. And you can see it doesn't require a lot of movement. You're pretty well standing in one place, just inching your tool forward. And I want to leave a thickness of the rim, depending on what the final use of this scoop is going to be for, will determine the thickness of the rim. And I'll explain that once we take it off. And going all the way to the center, unlike a bowl, you're really not hurting anything by doing that now. Because on a regular bowl, you would want to complete your rim before you went all the way to center, but you can do these. I guess it's because of all the support up high. Yeah, I'm getting to the point where we're determining our rim. That's awful blurry. I guess I've lost contact there. Nope, it won't pick back up. Come on, pick back up. Okay, that's a little more clear, but I think I'm going to put you there for the last few. I'm determining my rim thickness. Okay, you can see on this one, I left it thick. And like I said, I'll explain that in just a minute. Okay, I'm going to switch back to that one because I want you to see the depth. Even though my hands and shoulders are in the way, just a little bit. You can see I've now removed all the drill marks. And I do need to stop and raise my tool rest just a little bit. It's because I'm cutting slightly below center, and it's because of how much further I'm reaching over the tool rest. Give it a spin again, make sure you're not hitting anything. So we're looking good there. We'll make the last few cuts on it. Yeah, that's, for some reason, the motion is getting in the way tonight. And all I'm doing is creating a sweeping motion. And I did come from the bottom out on that stroke. Let's try to make one all the way to the bottom. Okay, we've got a good smooth bottom. And let me take a look from that view, and we can see, yep, all the way. And you're able to measure, and I've got actually a little thicker bottom than I would like. So I'm going to make just another stroke or two. So I don't know if I just didn't set my depth gauge as far as I wanted, or probably just rushing again. And like I said, I do want this one just a bit thicker. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, I'm happy with that. So we're going to pause at that point. And we're going to take it off. And let's try and get square again so I can show you what we look like. go back overhead and going the wrong way there. Let's see, we'll come this way. And we've made a scoop. And it's functional completely. And it does look pretty good. Certain measurements, yeah, you could use it for that. Just make it a different size. We've got our thistle out here on the end is a little odd shape, but it gives you the ability to drill a hole into it and make a lanyard so you can hang this up. Now, the things that something like this is used for, bigger size, it would be used for a water scoop. Someone can dip water with it. That created the angle with what we did. You can turn it thin, drill 3 holes in the bottom, and it's now an olive or pickle scoop from a jar. This one, as I said, I left it thicker. A friend of mine wanted this scoop for using in reenactment ceremonies. He loads shotgun shells, this muzzle loading shotgun shells, and he buys his shot in bulk, and by having it heavier, you know, they're oil coated. It lets him knock it out, and then he can scoop up the amount that he wants. If you want to use it for a coffee scoop, I don't worry too much about the size because I've never met 2 people that make their coffee the same strength. So they would just use it for what they wanted to. Okay, that's a scoop.
Great
Lan,
demo, Lan.
fantastic demonstration, sir.
Really
Fantastic.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
Thank you.
Loved it.
Very nice.
Lan, we had a question on the dimensions of the blank you started with.
There is, on this particular one, it was a 3 by 3, roughly. And like I said, it was split wood. But by using these chucks, you can make it any dimension you want from 1/2 inch up to 3 inches. And then I have another set of pin jaws that are, instead of 1.5 inches, they're 2.5 inches long. So you can make up to a 5-inch scoop if you wanted to on
Nice.
the other set. So there's no limitation. It's whatever size wood you got is the size that you would make.
Okay. And I
So-
like your idea there with the pins from the cold jaws. I finally got a use for my cold jaws now.
Well, this is a set because all mine were short on mine, and I bought them from Penn State. And right now, all they have available is the 2.5 inch. I had to buy a bunch for a class that I'm teaching, and I wanted these 1.5 inch. So I do like them better because I don't want us to make too big of scoops.
Yeah.
These smaller size seem to be a more practical usage.
Right.
But
Okay.
they do have the big ones, and you can use the larger ones and do this exact same thing, but you'd need to put a plug on your jaws, on your chuck. Just make something round that would fit into the center here and would push it out just a little bit, because you want your final cut to be out close to the rim. You obviously don't want to be maneuvering tools down in between these jaws, because you are going to mess up and hit rubber, and they're aluminum, but you don't want to hit it with your tools any way you look at it.
Right.
So yeah, please go make them. That's what they're a lot of fun to make. And if you've got any buddies from Renaissance festivals to Civil War, Revolutionary War reenactors, they love these things. I have made hundreds of these for them.
Awesome. Fantastic
And-
demo, Lan, once again.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Great job.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was
Great.
great.
Good job.
Anyone else have a question?
Okay. Wide open right now, folks, if you want to
Good
talk.
demo,
you can.
Lan.
Thank you much. Was that Birdhouse Bob?
That
Yeah,
was
that's
Birdhouse
Birdhouse
Bob. Complimenting the Scoop Master,
Oh, thank you, thank you,
I'm
thank you.
telling you.
Captain Scoop Land.
Right?
Bob
Hey,
is-
gum, Dane, it looks like you already made one.
What's
Oh
that?
yeah, my pipe. Now I got a better way of chucking it for sure.
No, Bob can tell you, we just learned to make coffee cups this way 2 weeks ago also. So yeah, we've got another project in line. And we did copy you, Dean, at a class we were teaching at Campbell. We made the butter bale as one of our projects to go in there. So just thought I'd follow up. Had a couple more pieces.
Oh
This is
yeah.
the exact same piece, but without a handle to it. And it looks entirely different, but it's exactly the same. It just has no handle. And
That is nice.
it's real interesting because when you set it down,
Can you
it'll
pull it back
rock.
towards the
It,
tool
it
rest?
won't turn over. Whoops, you can't
It's
see
out
it
of
there.
camera. There you go.
There we go.
Oh,
But
cool.
it'll just rock like that.
Oh, I gotta make
and-
me some of them.
Following again, the same thing, I mentioned that we were trying to make coffee cups out of them. And here's one that we made to start with. And yeah, the handle's a bit bulky, but it is a coffee cup. I mean, you've got a handle to hold it with. So I'm
Right.
working on downsizing that to where it'll be appropriate, and of course making the cup larger as well. But it's really cool the things you can make with it, because again, a strap through that, and it's something neat to hang on your belt.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lan.
Thank you, Lane. Appreciate it. Boy, that was a great demonstration tonight, folks.